The FujiCast is an independent loading zone production.
Tuesday, March 24th.
The FujiCast.
Hello, welcome to the FujiCast Daily. It's nice to have Kev back as well. Hello, Kev. I felt a bit naked without you.
Naked?
Not so, no. Well, I think about you in the shower. Isn't it the other way round?
Oh my word! What? I'm not. I'm planning on not having a shower for 3 months. It's great.
I feel unwashed.
I'm in the same clothes I started wearing 2 weeks ago.
Are you? Well, we live in interesting times. Yesterday's news was that we're not in full lockdown, are we? But we're one step closer to it now, aren't we?
Yeah, I would say pretty much we are. This is the British way, isn't it? The stiff upper lip way of saying, come on, chaps. Yeah. Let's all play fair and let's just stay at our houses, jolly chaps.
Yeah. In a couple of weeks' time, if you've all been good, then we'll think about it again.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we'll all have a nice cup of tea and have a little think about this ridiculous situation that we found ourselves in. Whereas the Germans, of course, who seem to have far less deaths from this, have just gone, okay, we'll do what we're told, instead of going for nice long leisurely walks around Richmond Park like idiots
and clearing the shelves of stock. In Germany, apparently, that's not an issue at all.
Yeah, so, sensible people.
I've seen a few people doing interesting things in our local town. Okay, they you can check them out, by the way. Hashtag #theunruly_UK. Okay, there are pretty cool barbers, actually. It's where all the cool dudes go. Obviously not me, because I don't have hair. But the Unruly are doing this thing called crap cuts. So they've essentially said, well, we're not open. We're not open for business, and it's very likely if we're locked down for 3 months. The fact is, you could probably really have a go at sort of homemade hairdressing and barbering at the moment, because it'll all grow out again. And they're doing this. Send us your crap cuts. And they've started to feature them on their Instagram grid. So I thought that out of it comes a bit of humour here and there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot of humour, isn't it? As you know, I'm not really doing Facebook at the moment, but I've been seeing a lot of good stuff on it, Instagram and Twitter actually as well. Twitter, I've gone back to Twitter for the first time in a long time as a mechanism of kind of fact-checking news and stuff.
It's the gallows humour thing, which we, talk about the British stiff upper lip. We also have this gallows humour, don't we? Brilliant Zach Arias, by the way, on YouTube. He did a cookery show the other day, and today he's done a kids channel thing to keep the kids busy. So go, Zach.
Yeah.
So
he's a good lad.
Seeing a very different side of people. There we go. I thought actually it might be a nice idea, Kev. We'll pick out. These are not commercials, by the way, but there are companies that we all work with that are going through this as well. And I thought I might pick a couple out. Do you mind if I mention one here? Actually, let's go for Pick Time. Did you see what Pick Time were doing?
No.
So let me be your guidance.
Like I said, I'm not on Facebook, so I'm not seeing any of this stuff.
This wasn't on Facebook. This is a mailer that came out. But you don't use Pick Time. You use
no.
Zenfolio. But I thought this was really nice. They said, let's brave this together. An update from our team. Community is going through a hard time during these uncertain times. We want to do as much as we can to adjust this new situation within the limits of what our company can sustain. We're a small independent company relying solely on subscriptions for income. It's a bad time for subscription companies, obviously, but payments. So they're doing a payment slowdown, Kev. Starting from Thursday, March 26, payment plans will be on slowdown. That means for every one payment, you get 1.5 times your normal plan. Monthly plans, you will be charged every 1.5 months, not every month. Yearly plans, yearly payment will credit you a year and a half. So people are doing stuff like this too, and they've even said our team stands with you, and we're taking a pay cut here to be able to deal with the loss of income. So we thank each and every one of the employees' team for understanding the need and willing to be a part of this effort. There's some incredible stuff coming out of this where people are giving and
I think it's great. I mean, I have I've been doing my accounts today, my bookkeeping. It didn't take very long.
Happy days.
And one of the things I noticed was all of the subscriptions that I've got that are tied to the US dollar are suddenly a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
Like Pixeloo Smart Albums that I use, which normally comes in around about £12, was nearly £15 this month, because obviously we're at a I don't know, something like 135-year low against the dollar or something.
I'm hoping that Adobe might do something. It'd be a nice.
I think they were giving away, weren't they giving away the Adobe Creative Cloud photography subscription free for 2 months? I think.
Are they?
I think they did something like that. Yeah.
To brand new customers only, or to all those using it?
I have no idea. I just saw something about it. Probably brand new customers only. But these people have got to make a living as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Just picking out a few of those that are doing their bit during this time as well. So
I've got one, by the way. It's Patrick, Patrick Larocque, the god of all things great. Still in his little quarantined house in Canada somewhere. He messaged me yesterday actually saying that he's making all of his publications on his website totally free for I don't know, a month or something. Now, in fairness, they don't cost a lot anyway. But if you go to Patrick's website, laroquephoto.com, I guess it's under publications or something like that. And he's such a creative genius, as you know. He's got music and books and all sorts of stuff going on there.
I imagine in his house he'll be there strumming the guitar each night to the kids, entertaining. I can imagine living in his house during these times would be quite intriguing.
Yeah. He's probably built a boat as well in the garden or something like that, Or,
He's got it. Right, we've got some questions. You ready? James Bolton. Hi, what are your thoughts in the conversion lenses for the X100 series? I've just got an X100V for personal work. You've used conversion lenses for your X100s, haven't you? Of course you have. What are your thoughts? What do you have?
They're fine. They make the lens a little bit bigger. You have the teleconverter and the wide-angle converter. Now, remember the X100F and the X100V have a built-in digital teleconverter. So, if you're only interested in teleconverter, you might want to think about that because that's an oft-overlooked feature of the X100s. The wide-angle conversion lens is neat. I like that. There's no real optical loss of quality or anything like that. Of course, you've got to screw them in. There's two versions, version 1 and version 2 of both lenses, and they're pretty much identical. The only difference is you don't have to update the menu setting to tell the camera that you've got the conversion lens on. So yeah, I've got them. I think they're pretty cool. If you can add them to your arsenal, do it.
Martin Pemberton was in the Facebook group. If you haven't come into the FujiCast private Facebook group, ask to join. We'd love to see you there. Play nice though. I fell into the YouTube rabbit hole earlier and came across this. I thought it was right up Neale Street, and so we've shared it he shared it in the Facebook group. It was a film, Kev, about David Yoda, who had 6 months photographing the Pope, completely unrestricted access. You should see the angles. There are some angles where he's in the is it the Sistine Chapel? Sistine Chapel it will be, wouldn't it? And he's literally in the gods, looking down at the Pope. So it's just incredible. He's right next to him. It's a short focal length heaven piece because a lot of the time he's shoulder to shoulder with the Pope.
Oh, I'd love to see that. What did you say it was? David Yoda?
David Yoda, Yoder. There's a film, actually, that National Geo made. It's a very short film, Kev, but it's fascinating. You've got to watch it. Look it up on YouTube. And a question was suggested after. Who in history, dead or alive, would you like to be able to follow for 6 months to tell their story? I think I know who you're going to choose, because we've had a question like this before. I'm going to just see if you do, though. So if you could choose any historical character, who would you?
I would go for Henry VIII.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah.
I'm Henry VIII. I am. Why? Henry VIII. I am.
Why Henry VIII?
Oh, because he's like a cornerstone of history, isn't he?
Yeah.
He was a brute. He was a git. He was fat. He was thin. He was ugly. He was nice. He was charming. He was. I
wouldn't suggest you say this stuff to him when you go back in your time machine to photograph him.
The kids, Albie was learning about him in school. You remember school? Remember when the kids used to go to school?
What school?
That thing?
School.
School. And they were learning about him, and they learned a song, and I can't remember what it was now, but it was this is terrible. This could just go ramble.
I'm Henry VIII. I am.
No. It was about the wives.
Oh, right.
One died, one survived, one beheaded, one survived, one died, one cried, one something or other.
Is that the way they teach history in school now?
That's not exactly how it went.
So, yeah, if you had unbridled access to Henry VIII, mind you, some of it would be a bit horrible, wouldn't it, when he's dealing with his wives?
Yeah, it'd be horrible. You'd be brutal.
Yeah. Would you? I mean, you don't like you. I mean, you can't stand. You can't stand horror films. I mean, we've already established that John Nettles and what's it called, Midsummer Murders is about as far as you go down there. What would happen if Henry VIII said, "Well, today we're going to one of my wife's beheadings"? See, that's your problem.
I'd probably ask you to go instead.
No, because I've chosen two different characters. You see,
who are you going for?
I've just thought David Attenborough, or I'd love to spend just have access to David Attenborough, or the other one was, but I have to learn how to film and photograph underwater. Jacques Cousteau.
Jacques Cousteau.
He would be an amazing person to follow, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, Simon Pickard from, it looks like Quidditch in Devon, but it's not, is it? It's Quoditch.
Quidditch.
Well, no, Quuditch, which is Quoditch, but when I first saw it, I thought, he lives in a place called Quidditch.
Well, there's plenty of people who live in a place called Rugby.
That's true. Hello, Kevin and Neale. Thanks for the dailies. I wish there was something I could do to ease this crisis, but at almost 68 years of age, chaps, I'm doing my best not to shuffle off this mortal coil just yet. So I've taken my camera, Fuji X-E3, with me every time I've stepped outside. Not that I meet anybody in deepest North Devon, but I think it's important to record the local community's behaviour, how full the car parks are, how empty the streets are, that sort of thing. And as a result, it helps with social distancing. Raise a camera to my eye and I'm given a wide berth. Result. We've got a long slog ahead of us, but if we all play by the rules, then the vast majority of us will pull through, perhaps bruised and battered, but in one piece. He makes a good point. Of course, it's going to be very difficult to go out now and do any photography, isn't it? In some countries. In this country, definitely.
Well, it's difficult to go out, let alone go out and do photography.
I know. Have you thought, we were allowed to go out once a day for exercise, aren't we? So... And if you've got if you've got a dog, you're okay as well. So you can take Git and
Git and Breezy.
Git and Breezy.
Yeah, we've got a couple of those little living gloves that live in the garden as well. We can put them on strings and drag them around the streets. Hamsters or guinea pigs or something.
Living what? Gloves.
Living gloves.
Living gloves.
Like a pair of gloves that crawl around the garden.
Do you know guinea pigs? We talked about guinea pigs last time, but I had a little guinea pig when I was young. It was called Toffee. It was called Toffee. I was very inventive with the names. It's called Toffee because it looked like just one great big slab of toffee. You know what? They are like that. You're right. They're just like they're a blob, aren't they? Really?
Ours is called Marshmallow. And get this, the massive one, and he's huge. He's the size of Monty the dog. He's called Chubby Cheeks.
Chubby Cheeks. Oh, brilliant. That's a great name.
They might actually be girls. We don't know.
Oh, right.
It's definitely either two boys or two girls because we haven't had 100 more little hairy things crawling around. It's not one of each.
Well, I remember Toffee lived to a grand old... they're not supposed to live that long, are they? But Toffee lived a grand old age.
How long?
I think it was about 8-9 years or something.
Oh, no. Really?
No, I'm wrong. It was 16 years. No, I don't know. I'm guessing a bit. But I do remember the day that Toffee passed on, you see, because we had some friends come round and they had younger children. And my mum said to me, why don't you go and show the kids Toffee? I said, all right, I'll go and see Toffee. And Toffee was just an attitude problem, really. Wasn't very social at all. He used to run off every time he went anywhere near Toffee. I put my hand in.
Sounds like me.
But Toffee didn't run off. Toffee stayed absent. So I sat there stroking Toffee for a little while, thinking, Toffee seems remarkably rigid. and Toffee had... and then I noticed Toffee wasn't really... Well, Toffee had moved on. And I went back to Mum. I said, I don't think Toffee wants to see anybody today. And she said, don't be daft. Show the kids. Go get it out. Don't be silly. Don't be horrible. Don't be selfish. I said, no, really, I don't think Toffee's in the mood for any visitors right now. I can't remember what ended, but I just remember having an argument with my mum about her saying I was selfish and I was trying to save the small kids from finding out what Toffee looked like when Toffee had passed on. There we go. Guinea pig story. I lost you there, really, didn't I?
Are you still going?
Yeah, I'm still going. Sorry about that. Yeah. 16 years for you with the guinea pigs. Anyway, one from Tom here. This is from Tom Spierenberg in the Netherlands. You were supposed to be there last weekend, weren't you? Are you rescheduling that?
No, well, it was a wedding.
No, but you were going to do a workshop.
Oh, the workshop I was going to do there. Yes, we will reschedule that too. Yeah,
Brilliant.
Definitely. All my workshops.
Good.
Yeah, everybody's been very good about that. Thank you.
Excellent.
Any of you listening?
Love your show. Love your effort to keep the show going daily while we endure this thing. Here's my question, maybe a tad long. I recently bought a new X camera, and although I never really had any big problems with dust or dirt on the sensor, I can't help myself wondering about why the camera, or Fujifilm in that regard, doesn't give us the option to close the shutter when turning the camera off so we can switch lenses during dry, dusty and windy situations. Or do you think the shutter is more delicate or too difficult to clean than a sensor?
Hold on. Sorry, say that again. I didn't quite understand that.
Well, Tom's looking for... Well, I think Canon have a very similar thing that when you take the lens off, a space closes across the sensor to prevent you damaging or getting dust or moisture or anything on the sensor. And why can't Fujifilm do that sort of thing?
Does that happen with Canon, does it? It never happened when I had Canons.
No, Canon mirrorless.
Oh, mirrorless.
Is there a reason why that couldn't happen? Is it something to do with the space between the sensor and the lens?
I don't know. I mean... Fujifilm, they do have different sensors in terms of the color array and all that kind of stuff. So maybe there is something to do with the space, but I'm not sure if I would be too keen on that. I have to say, imagine shooting a wedding and you change the lens and this little thing comes down and then doesn't go back up again. It's just something else to break, isn't it? I'm not sure I'd be keen on that.
Yeah, guess so. All
to be honest with you, I mean, I get the point. I absolutely, the technology makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe it could be something you could switch on and off as an option.
Yeah, we'll park that one in the one day Fujifilm may think of that one. What do the Japanese say whenever there's an idea that they can't quite put into action, but they don't want to say no?
We shall consider.
We shall consider. There we go.
Yeah, we shall consider.
Oh, I think that's it. We're going to end actually with an interview. We had a note from Carl Spring, who offered up some time of his to talk about how to deal with this situation many of us photographers all over the world are working with right now. Not the virus itself, but the homeschooling of our kids. Carl's a teacher, but he's also a photographer in his first year of business, so these are particularly interesting times to launch a photography firm. I had a chat with him earlier today, Kev. Carl, what do you teach?
I teach media studies now. So my background has been in teaching graphic products and graphic design and ICT and media studies. And I now basically just teach 2 days a week, just doing sixth form media studies. So it's kind of it's weird to see it from a 6-point of view, especially with us doing media, because obviously we've been watching the news and analysing the news lesson to lesson, week to week.
Yeah.
And actually seeing those kids kind of get the idea of what's coming is quite scary.
What are the kids been like? What have they been saying?
It's varying degrees of from I couldn't give a toss to absolute all-out panic.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the kids I teach is asthmatic, so he's absolutely worried. There's kids with parents with underlying health conditions.
Yeah.
And then there's kids who are just like, it's not going to really affect me if I get it, never mind.
How have you addressed that?
Try not to swear at them too much, if I'm totally honest.
Yeah.
I kind of let the other kids make the arguments for me, because obviously if you've got a kid whose dad's got underlying health conditions, they're going to come straight back at it. So they're going to talk amongst themselves. And the biggest thing you can do as a teacher is let them talk and let them sort of argue it out amongst themselves, and then just interject if it gets too heated, because I think that's the best way, especially in sixth form, for those kids to start to learn.
You're a photographer as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
So does this mean you're teaching 2 days a week and photographing 3 days a week?
Yeah. So I quit full-time teaching last August. So a brilliant year to go into it, trying to make a go of it. But basically now I work Thursday and Fridays in schools, and then the rest of the week and the weekend are mine. So I'm sort of getting weddings on Saturdays, and then bits of corporate work and headshots and all that through the week. So it's kind of it's given me a safety blanket to jump into sort of trying to make a go of it full time, which it's been quite interesting until just about now, because obviously it's just absolutely blown everything apart, if I'm honest.
I mean, especially you made a good decision though to have a wide canvas in terms of the genres you're going to work in, because I think that's going to be the safest thing you can be as a photographer when we come out the other side, don't you think?
I think it's kind of that thing. I think it's weddings are always going to be difficult because there just seems to be more and more people coming into it. So I think it's going to get more and more competitive. And I think the more you can do, the wider you can throw your net. I know it's kind of jack of all trades and everything, but I just think it's a case of, at the moment, especially when we come out the other side, it's going to be grabbing whatever work you can get. I think there'll be a glut of weddings, obviously, where everyone just wants the same date, and there'll be scraps to be had there. But I think it's a case of trying to do as much as you can and as many types of photography as you can.
Right, put your teacher's hat back on.
Okay.
Because one of the reasons you contacted us was that you said that you might have some ideas on how to deal with the kidlings, as Kev calls them, during the next weeks or months, however long this is. So you've got some suggestions, haven't you? Some ideas about how to homeschool and how to look after them while they're schooling.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest issue that I'm seeing and hearing from obviously friends who are teachers at the moment is this whole year 11. So if you've got kids who are coming up and meant to be sitting their GCSEs this year, it's, as far as I'm aware, it's over. It's done. There's no exams. Coursework's being cancelled. There's no 110% guidance yet, but it's kind of that thing of if you've got kids coming up to exams, don't instantly start piling the pressure on your exams are coming, because they're going to come straight back at you with, actually, no, they're not. It's a really, really scary time for all kids, especially those kind of coming up to the exams because they're worried about college, and those doing A-levels, worry about university and stuff like that. And I just think at the moment it's a really, really scary time, and just let them, for these first couple of weeks, and then obviously you've got Easter holidays anyway, just let them decompress, let them get over what's actually happening in the world, because it's absolutely as scary for them as it is for us. And I think as parents, what we try and do is it's basically called helicopter parenting, where we're kind of over the top of our children all the time. Oh, are you okay? Do you need anything? Are you sure? Is there any way I can help? And I think it's kind of, sometimes they just need to be left alone and let them kind of ask questions as they need to. I think that's a really important point going forward, is just let them ask the questions rather than kind of keep constantly checking on them.
What do you do with them? Because our Jack, he's in his first year at secondary school now, or higher school for those listening in America. And he's consuming news. Would you turn the taps off a little bit?
I mean, that's always a really difficult one, because it's great that they want to look into it and all the rest of it. But I think, I hate to use a Trump term, but obviously there is a huge problem with fake news. And obviously these kids are on social media, so they're on Instagram, TikTok, less so Facebook, but they're going to be getting a lot of things that are just being put out there, unfortunately, by these influencers who are doing it for views. So there's going to be, oh my God, this is happening. Can you believe it? You know what I mean? The clickbait. But if you can kind of guide them to reliable sources, I think it's really good and a good practice for their later years in school to let them look into it and research. But obviously, again, try and gently guide them into exploring more than one source, so to speak.
So our school immediately went into to this, you're not having a holiday mode, and issued lots of work. So 9 o'clock, day starts. This is what we're doing. The headmistress said, we might just be video calling some people, which put the fear of God into them, so they wouldn't be too far away from the computer. In a school where 1,500 to 1,800 kids go, I think that's very, very unlikely, but you can't tell a child that. Is that the right way then? Or because we've sort of, my wife has sorted out a timetable, right? We're doing that there. You can have a break there, and then you can do this. Then we've got lunch. So we've kind of laid out this school structured day. But it sounds to me like you're saying maybe you should relax that for the next couple of weeks up to Easter.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. Especially if any of my employers are listening. This is my own comments and not of my schools. But I think, honestly, a lot of what's being set across the country is glorified homework. It's kind of, there's this, you need to go to school and you need to do these things and you must have a school day and you're not slacking off. And again, it's attacking the kids before they've even done anything wrong. And I think parents are very guilty of that in a lot of circumstances too. Like, it's 9 o'clock, you should be working.
Yeah.
Well, these worksheets are kind of one of the things as well, because in an hour's lesson, like, you'll have 10 minutes introduction to what's happening, and then you'll kind of go over the theory, and then they'll probably do 10 to 15 minutes work. Then you'll have a check, and then another 10 to 15 minutes work, and then 5 minutes check at the end. So in an hour, realistically, a child's going to do like 30 minutes of solid sit down writing in their book or typing at a computer or something like that. And these sheets and the way they've just kind of been thrown out by some places are very much a case of work for an hour on maths and do as many sheets as you can, and then the same in English and all the rest of it. Whereas actually the kids might not ever do that amount of work in a lesson. So just be mindful that just because you've been given this big pack, it doesn't mean that they have to try and do it all at once or work solidly. The biggest thing I'd say overall is to parents, don't worry. Like, it's the equivalent of me doing the Joe Wicks thing. Like, I started this Joe Wicks thing with my kids yesterday. It nearly flipping killed me. I'm glad I've never been a PE teacher. But whatever you're doing is brilliant. You're doing a great job, and just don't stress on it.
Some wise words from Carl Spring. We may well be hearing from him again. If you'd like to go and check out his work, as you heard, he's ramped up to this year as being an important transition year when all this happened. So I thought it might be nice to share the site. It's 166photography.co.uk. Numericals for the number 166photography.co.uk. So that's it, Kev. What's your plans for this evening then? What's on the Kev radar?
Yeah, I might start on Miss Marple. I think there's hundreds of them. Actually, I'll tell you what I did watch. Again, I think this was something that came through on Twitter, or it might have been on Instagram, or it might have been via FujiCast. Something on the BBC iPlayer, and it's called The Art of the Image, I think. It's really cool. The Art of the I think it's called The Art of the Image.
Is that a photography show?
Kind of. It's basically about art and photography and the overlap, and there's a little bit in there about Albert Einstein. I've only watched the first one. I think there's 3 of them. It's by that, or the guy that's running it is that art historian, Dr. David Fox. Really good bloke he is. I like his stuff. I like his books and everything, and it's really interesting.
I feel we're giving people homework. Give them Zach to look at. You've given them the Art of the Image to look at.
I'm sure it won't be called the Art of the Image. It'll be called anyway. So just look at David Fox on iPlayer, and you'll find him. BBC iPlayer. Very good little program. Even Gemma liked it. And mind you, she's into.
Even Gemma liked it.
Well, she loves art, not so much photography, but she likes art, so it was very interesting.
Don't forget to get out there with those dogs and give them a walk as well, especially Git, because he's going to go mad if he doesn't get any walks.
He couldn't go any madder.
Well, we'll see. Okay. See you tomorrow. Oh, and also, if you get a chance to share this, share it, because as I know it, I think we're the only daily podcast at the moment trying to join the communities together. And it doesn't mean that we're medal worthy, I know that, but it's just really nice if we can get the community together from all the other brands as well, so we can all talk photography. And also, just finally, thank you to everybody who has thrown a few pennies into the tip jar. Very, very much appreciated. This isn't a call to arms for more, but it's a little appreciative nod of thanks to you guys. You should do that thing that I've seen some people do on YouTube, where they say I've got dogs and cats to feed or something, where they're trying to get people to join their Patreon. Just say, look, you've got little Git to feed there. I don't give him any food. Oh, poor Git. See you on the show tomorrow. See ya, bye-bye. The FujiCast is an independent loading zone production. Email the show with your questions and words of wisdom to click@fujicast.co.uk. Email any complaints and political nonsense to our wives, who will deal with your comments in their own good time and in their own good way.